Let's discuss with Democratic Congressman Adam Smith of Washington State. He's the top Democrat on the Armed Services Committee. So, Congressman, recently you said that the U.S.-Iran memo of understanding shows the Iran war was a colossal mistake, in your words. Are you at all encouraged by anything you've heard coming out of these latest negotiations so far? And have you been briefed on this memorandum of understanding yet?
No, I'm encouraged by the fact that they're trying to find an end to the war. I do think that's the smart choice. I mean, doubling, tripling down on the mistake that the war was would be even more catastrophic. And basically, I mean, Trump assumed that a 4 to 5 week bombing campaign would fundamentally break the Iranian regime and would force them to capitulate on all of our demands. Instead, Iran put the region at risk, attacked, 6, 7, 8 different countries around them, shut down the Strait of Hormuz, and now we're negotiating to get the Strait of Hormuz back open, which of course it was open before the war began. But criticism of getting into the war aside, the decision to try and stop it and negotiate a settlement on the terms and in the situation we are, I think it's the right call. Now, we'll see how that negotiation plays out. But continuing this war, sort of doubling down on that colossal mistake would have been even worse.
Just moments ago, President Trump talked about another part of the negotiations with Iran in terms of the unfreezing of some Iranian assets. I want to play that.
One of the things that we are doing also, and it came up last night, is money that's being unfrozen is going to be used to buy food, and the food's going to be bought exclusively through the United States from our farmers. And corn, soybeans, all of the things they need are going to be bought from our farmers. So our farmers are very happy. I've had a lot of calls. They were very happy about this.
What do you make of that?
Well, first of all, I'd be really surprised if that part of it was true, that it's going to be bought exclusively from our farmers. I cannot imagine that they would set up the situation where that would be the case. Iran buys a variety of different products when they can from a variety of different places. So I'm pretty sure Trump is making that part up. And then the other thing is this is exactly what he criticized Obama for doing, was freeing up Iranian assets in exchange for them stopping their nuclear program. And those, freeing up Iranian assets so they could then buy humanitarian assistance. That's exactly what the JCPOA did. So Trump's Obama derangement syndrome that made him tear up the JCPOA, now we're just right back where we were before, but we fought an incredibly costly war in the meantime. So now, I mean, we'll see. I mean, maybe they wind up having to buy all of it from American farmers, but I'm fairly confident President Trump is making that up at this point.
Also, I want to play for our viewers something that Vice President Vance said this afternoon when asked about Iran allowing nuclear inspectors into the country.
You can't trust anybody's words. You have to trust what they actually do. Letting in the inspectors is a big deal, but again, we're going to see what they actually let the inspectors do once they're in the country. That's going to continually be a part of our negotiation. So my point is not that I trust or distrust anybody. My point is that I trust actions. And what the president has asked us to do is verify what they're doing, focus less on what they're saying.
I mean, obviously, the thing about that is, one, the JCPOA hadn't allowed and did have actual inspectors on the ground. And Iran has already pushed back on the U.S. claim that they will now allow nuclear inspectors back into the countries. What do you think is happening here?
Well, I mean, that's what we need. That's what has to happen. You have to have neutral inspectors to make sure that Iran is obeying whatever it is that they agree to. Another strength of the JCPOA is it had exactly that. And those inspectors were allowed in, and Iran was 100% complying with the agreement at the time that Donald Trump tore it up. So I'm glad that J.D. Vance is vaguely aware of the fact that inspectors are important here, but he should be more specifically aware of it, and he should make sure that it is part of any agreement. Now, do we have the leverage at this point to make sure that Iran agrees to that? I have my doubts, but it certainly would be a critical part of containing Iran's nuclear program.
The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is heading to the Middle East to meet with our regional allies. Unlike the Vice President, he has been remarkably silent on the Memorandum of Understanding and these ongoing negotiations. How do you read that?
Well, I mean, President Trump has a weird way of dispatching his diplomats. I mean, first of all, he relies on Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, two real estate guys from the New York, New Jersey area, instead of the dozens of incredibly experienced diplomats. So we have experienced diplomats, experience in the Middle East, experience with Iran, experience with nuclear programs. And then, he's decided that this is going to be J.D. Vance's thing and not Marco Rubio's. And it's all part of sort of the sidelining of the State Department, I guess, from the top down. And we have an incredibly talented State Department. I've traveled all over the world, met with members of our State Department. Their background, their knowledge of the regions that they are working in is incredibly important. And President Trump has consistently sidelined them right up to the top, including Marco Rubio, in favor of J.D. Vance, who really doesn't have any international experience.
And certainly with whatever negotiations are to come over the nuclear program, expertise is going to be essential to that and to the verification process. Congressman Adam Smith, thanks for your time.